are live with episode 11 of the Break Even Brothers podcast. My name is Bennett Bernard. Bradley Bernard is joining me, of course. How you doing, Brad?
Pretty good out in North Carolina. So, living life. Last time I was out here, I think was last year. Funny fact, I think last time I was out here, I was on a call with my former PayPal manager, James Nyberg. Shout out to James, really cool guy. He was calling me, checking in on how my company was going since it was only, a few months when I was into things. Great conversation. Hopefully he's doing well. Awesome guy. But yeah, out here in North Carolina, flew in last night. I gotta be out here for the holidays for Thanksgiving week. So yeah, things been going pretty well. How about you?
Good. Yeah, just got back from a work trip up in Seattle, Washington, which is cool. Probably the worst landing of a flight I've ever had. So that was an experience. Yeah, I flew in. So as I was coming in, I had Wi-Fi on the plane, and I was like just looking. I was like, let me see what the weather's like when I land. Like going into it completely blind up until that point, and then I look at the weather, and it's like bomb cyclone or cyclone bomb or whatever, and like high winds expected at SeaTac, which is the airport there.
Mhm.
So right away I was like, that I don't like the way that sounds and that reads. And then I don't like flying just to begin with. Like I used to not mind it as much, and now I just kind of hate it. But I'm quiet. Like I don't like freak out or anything like that. But as we started descending, the first part that was kind of spooky was I had like the whole aisle to myself, which was great,
That's
and
so nice.
or the whole row. Yeah, like it was like a half book flight. I don't know how they ended up like keeping that flight and not like just canceling it and forcing us on a different
Mhm.
one. But I got lucky there. But I had the whole row, so I went over to the window and like opened the window up to kind of see, like, because it was like a pair for like descent to kind of start landing or whatever, and open the window, and it is so like foggy, and like the rain is so much that like the rain's going sideways, and like the wind, like it was just like
Mhm.
it looked like I was in like a shower basically, and you couldn't see anything, and I had this like eerie feeling like we're gonna like land without me like knowing and like seeing
Yeah.
where the ground was, because I was like I had no like gauge of how high we were. But then eventually I saw like I could see the lights of the houses down below, and I was like, okay. But then that last like I don't know, this is completely me thinking, but like the last like 1,000 or 2,000 feet of like descent was just like getting whipped around up and down,
Dang.
side to side. Like could just feel when the aircraft was like in the wind's grasp, basically.
Mhm.
Like you just felt like it just felt like in those moments, like it's like Mother Nature could just take me out. Like it just felt like you're kind of helpless. But everyone was kind of quiet. No one like said anything. People were kind of looking around at the windows and stuff like that. But it was tense. But like I wouldn't have gauged like how bad it really was until we landed. People started clapping, and I was like, okay, I wasn't the only one that
That's
had that.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was
Do
like,
you remember? I think when we were younger, there was a moment where we were on a plane together, and I heard some announcement come out, and I got really scared about being on the plane. Do you remember
mhm. Yeah, yeah. You thought it was pirates, and he said
that? Yeah.
pilots. Yeah, yeah. Which is
Yeah. I
so
think
funny.
I probably started crying.
Yeah, pirates. I mean, like, why would you be scared of pirates to begin with? But
Yeah.
yeah.
And off your story, I was thinking, I was on a flight recently with my wife, and she was sleeping, and I can't sleep on planes that well. And right when we're about to land, I like woke her up because I also feel similarly about like I need to like see the plane land like through the window or like some like I need to know when it's happening because I feel like it's kind of an experience. And so I woke her up like maybe a minute before we're landing, and she's kind of up from a daze. I was like, I just kind of woke you up because we're gonna land. I don't want you to like be freaked out about that. And so
Yeah.
yeah, it's one of those things where it wasn't bumpy at all, but like just seeing it is kind of nice. And then when you're talking about the turbulence, there's this famous TikTok that went viral that was talking about the planes being like in jello, where when you hit that turbulence, you're in the air and you're shaking, but you're
Hmm.
relatively safe. Like oddly enough, it
Yeah.
feels scary, but in the grand scheme of things, that's like very, very minor. And so I think when I hit those turbulence events, I always think of that TikTok, and I'm like, like can be jarring depending on the magnitude, but at the end of the day, it's like totally, totally fine usually.
Yeah, usually. I mean, I was on a Boeing.
Usually.
That wasn't helping my super, my fear at all. I was on a Boeing 737-800, not the max though, because I won't do the
Mm,
max. And yeah, that's kind of like the logical part of your brain that goes like, well, like this is statistically way safer than driving, right? But like it's
Right.
that helplessness, that is like the most jarring part. And it's funny because I could handle it easier like up in the air for some reason, because it's like, oh, like you're 30,000 feet. Like if you're gonna go, you're gonna go. Like it is what it is. But like I've had a couple times where it's been really turbulent landing, and like had a couple of aborted landings, not in this flight, but where you go down, the conditions aren't good enough, so they kind of go back up and go around.
Hmm.
And like landing, like you're almost there, but like to have to like
Yeah.
deal with all that crap after like either a long flight or just a regular flight, but you're excited to get where you want to get and excited to kind of put your feet on the ground, so to speak. It's like a big buzzkill, I guess, for me to kind of have all that and be like, oh, like if I go down right here, like I was almost there, I almost made it. But that's kind of where my brain goes. I was like, I wasn't like texting, I wasn't texting my wife like anything. I wasn't like, it wasn't at that level. I was pretty close to being like, hey, I love you. Just,
Damn.
but it was like, I thought about it. I was like, oh, this isn't really fun. And then what was kind of funny and interesting was, when actually got to the office, people that had also flown in on Tuesday night had the same exact reaction, like,
Mhm.
holy hell, that was awful. And, was hugging the kids extra hard, when I got home and all that kind of stuff. I was just like,
It
yeah, it
sounds
was
like we
a,
had
it
a
was a
similar
doozy.
schedule. I also did a work trip out to Santa Monica, which was meeting my team and my manager for the first time in person because Snapchat's headquartered in Santa Monica, one of the few companies, at least tech companies, I think, that are doing that. And so, yeah, I drove out there, was in LAX, and then stayed Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and in person did like a little top golf event with the team, which is a lot of fun. It's just so nice meeting people in person because I feel like there's a different transactional relationship being online where if I ask for help and they haven't like met me, it's really hard to understand like the seriousness or the jokiness of like certain Slack messages. And once I meet them in person, like it's just like a normal guy asking for help, not annoying. Because I feel like being the new employee or like new engineer in the organization, I lean on people a lot initially, just get like quickly onboarded. And that can be like different Slack messages, different people. And at times I'm like, am I annoying people? Is this like too much? And then when I meet them in person, I think they realize just like it's just the nature of things and they don't really have any beef with me or anything like that. Not that I would, but it's just like so much nicer, I think, to meet people in person. And so a lot of people were like in the Orange County area that drove all the way out to LA to like come meet, which is really nice. And yeah, it's different. Like when I joined Facebook, it was COVID era. You remote onboarded all that. Now with the return to office for Snapchat, everybody's in person, but most of my team is in LA. So it was really, really big for me to meet like the, 70% of my team that's in Santa Monica where I'm up in the Bay. So yeah, fun trip, but short. And then now in North Carolina, then back to the Bay Area after this.
Yeah. Yeah, I was bummed actually. One of the events, one of the outings. So like on the first night for my trip, we had like a team dinner, which was great. It was at an amazing restaurant. And then the second night that I was flying out, so I couldn't attend just due to some scheduling issues. But the second night was like a ping pong bar kind of thing, and yeah, I was really bummed to miss it because I was telling people I was like, I'll be honest with you, like I would smoke you all, so I'm not gonna, you know, I'm a bit bummed, and yeah, I think I'd run the
Yeah.
tournament, but that's okay. But because people ask me like, oh, do you play a lot? And I was like, yeah, I play. I don't play as much as I used to, but like we used to play a lot,
Mhm.
and I was like, it's such a
Oh
big
yeah.
part of like what my family does that it actually was mentioned in my brother's wedding. Like that's how like much ping pong is infused in the Bernard household. So I was like, yeah, we definitely played a lot, compared I think to the average folk. But yeah,
Yeah.
I was bummed to miss that
Recently
one.
in the Bay Area, they put a ping pong table in the lunch area in our office. And so ever since I came in, I've been having a quote unquote secret meeting with a few people and we'll take a look down there and play for a few minutes. And then in the Santa Monica office, there's a foosball table that's like right behind where we sit.
Yeah,
And one of the team members on my team scheduled a foosball tournament. I'm like, hey, is there any ping pong tables? Like, I'm terrible at foosball. Like, is there anything else? And he's like, no, there's no tables around here. And so I played foosball, and I don't know, it doesn't translate. I'm horrible at it. And like, I think for me, as someone who's more competitive, it's not as fun to play things that I know I suck at. So like, I'm playing foosball, like jiggling the things, rotating it. I'm like, I'm just not, I don't know, I haven't spent enough time to be good at it. So I got knocked out in the first round. I think the tournament finished without me, but still fun to play. Although ping pong, I take it more seriously and have more fun. And I'm better at it, so plus one.
Yeah, ping pong is funny for both of those. So for foosball, when I was at PwC, one of our my year end like audit client had a foosball table, and like a lot of times we were the ones that were there at the end, like after everyone had kind of gone home, because that's just the way auditors work, is that you
Mhm.
do 10-hour, 11-hour days, and so I remember the team would go up there and play, like just to take a break and stuff like that, and they'd get super heated, and it was funny because like for the most part, like just that audit team, it was I think a really fun audit team. The people there were for the most part pretty good, and like everyone had their own individual strengths. Like I remember there was a senior, and she was like I don't know, 5'2" or 5'3", like kind of just on the shorter side, but you could hit it so hard. Like had like a left, and like she'd like twist her whole body and hit it. And when you hit it, dude, it was
Jeez.
like a cannon, dude. Yeah. And then the manager too was also just like super good. Like it was so those were some pretty heated battles, like 2-on-2, but that was just amazing. And just you got to blow off steam, right? That's why they put those things there at workplaces. But a lot of trash talk for sure. And then the other one was at one of my jobs, not at PwC. They had like outdoor ping pong tables, and
Mhm.
me and a buddy, we'd go out and play. And admittedly, he wasn't like he didn't say he was good. Like he was just like, oh, let's just play and have some fun. But I wouldn't take it easy on him, and we would just play for a while. And I'd go left hand on him and be like, come on, buddy, come on, you can't,
Yeah, it's
just
funny when
just
people
talking
ask you at
trash.
work, like, "Oh, do you play ping pong?" I'm like, not really. You got to set the
Mm,
bar low, and then you got to like inch it up as you go. You don't want to be that guy. It's like, "Oh yeah, I play a lot. I'm really good." It's like I consider myself maybe slightly above average. Like for people who play and are legit, yeah, I'd probably get smoked. But I think I'm into it. I've played a lot, so like, yeah, that's where I'd pin myself. But definitely in a work environment, you got to undersell, then over deliver.
yeah, yeah. And it's funny because at that job with the ping pong tables, there was a guy who actually like, played ping pong competitively, but he refused to play. I was like, come on, dude, like, come on. It's like Kevin, like, let me just get beat down by you. Like, I want to experience it. And he was like, no, no. I was like, damn, you gotta show us what's up. But yeah, he like, and we saw like videos of him playing, and it was like, oh yeah, this is like like where they like stand super far back and like just crazy
Mm,
stuff. Like that's not definitely not my level, but like I think just for a casual, I'll take my chances. I'll
yeah.
bet on myself for like a casual work
Definitely want
tournament.
to play some. That sounds
Yeah,
like cool.
yeah.
Well, one thing that I've seen on Twitter recently that I want to transition to is on Twitter, there's a viral thread probably like 2 weeks ago. It was talking about this new iPhone app that scaled to 10,000 MR in 2 weeks. And so
Mm,
for me, as someone who's been in the indie hacker business, MR is the coveted metric of any business in that space. And 10,000 in 2 weeks, I was like, okay, yeah, you have my attention. Like that's the clickbait that anyone would click on. So I took a look at it, and it's an iPhone app. So for me as a mobile developer, I'm thinking, okay, like they've unlocked some secret. I downloaded the app, I went through the onboarding flow, and this is kind of where I realized something is not right. So to set the context, I think the app is called Lovi, Lovi. Not exactly sure on the app name, but found it on the App Store. Download it. It's a free app. It basically tells you after you scan your face and answer a few questions what skincare products and like recommendations to do for your face. And so for as people being in the social media scene, caring about how they look, you can imagine on the forefront that this app is already geared to be somewhat successful. So as I went through the onboarding process, you kind of stick out your phone, almost like a face ID scan of like move your face around and then answer, I think, 5 questions about your goals and the problems with your face. At the very end of that onboarding flow, maybe it takes you 2 or 3 minutes, it presents you with a hard paywall. And so for folks unfamiliar with what hard means, it means you cannot continue. Whatever you've done in the whole app so far will be discarded unless you pay. And that's when it hit me. And I was like, okay, these people are making 10,000 a month, at least, so far, and probably more now. But it feels very, very toxic. And the reason I say toxic is because Apple, I'm pretty sure, I'm like 90% sure, does not allow apps to have a hard paywall without the user getting any value out of it. And I think, not 100% sure, but I think how they get around this is that during app review, so when you submit your app to Apple, they take a look at it, they run it, they interact with it. You tell them what to test. What you can do is detect if there's an App Store reviewer kind of like reviewing your app, and you can change the behavior of the app based on that. And so what I think a lot of these app companies are doing is if there's an App Store reviewer, they don't have this kind of like quote unquote hard paywall. But once it gets approved, you can do whatever you want and they turn this on. And so for me, I think my gut reaction is just like I think I've spent so much effort and time building what I find to be quality tools. And admittedly, I think the category monetization that my products were in the past is hard to monetize. And when I see apps like this, which are probably built with a monetization first, where they design this kind of onboarding flow to get people to spend time and effort and then hit them with a hard paywall. Like that is the complete opposite. Maybe the app's super valuable. Maybe it's great. I didn't pay for it, so I'm not sure. But I think I just have like an icky feeling of apps that do that. And I think the whole like, oh, I'm making 10,000 a month MRR in 2 weeks, and I download the app. I went through the experience. I thought this like sucks. Like
Hmm.
maybe if I really cared about how my face looked, and I was really into that, I would immediately pay. But for me, I was like, I want to see some value before I pay. Like not a free trial, nothing. It was just here's your hard paywall. And so yeah, I don't know if you've seen apps like that, but there's others in the category that are like that. And yeah, it just gives me this like, gross
Yeah.
feeling.
Well, and also too, just from what you were saying, like where it scans your face and like just recommends products. That sounds like what it was. I'm not familiar with the app, but
Yeah.
like, are they really like it's just shelling out or shilling out like whatever product that like is going to probably earn them a commission or like pay them for sending them buyers, right? Like paying them for leads. Like it's not like
Mhm.
actually. I highly doubt, and I could be wrong, like, but I highly doubt that it's like looking and like detecting moisture levels in your cheek and going, oh, you have
Right.
dry skin, like let's do this here, and then oh, like you have, and I'm not a, I've never put on any kind of stuff on my face for anything, but like oh, you have like super hairy eyebrows, like let's make sure you do this over here. Like I doubt
Mhm.
it's doing that kind of like algorithm. It's probably just like, oh, let's just recommend you whichever one earns us the most commission. Like I'm just a little skeptical
Mhm.
that like the advice it's giving you is like really tailored to you. I think they probably put on that facade of like, well, we're scanning your face, and so therefore this is customized to you. But like that's probably a marketing gimmick. If I had to guess, like it's just a marketing thing to kind of
Yeah.
make it seem like it's more tailored to you.
Yeah, I think what they were doing, if I remember correctly, I think they held like a Twitter Spaces where they talked about like quote unquote how easy it is to make a like 10K MRR app, which again, it's like a very clickbaity title. I think that's
Hmm.
everyone's like goal in the indie hacker space. And so when people host things like that, obviously you're going to get viewers and listeners. But I think one of the conversations that popped up during this Twitter space was how can we make more money? Obvious question. And I think they were tinkering with making that onboarding flow even longer. So it's kind of succumbing to like the human behavior of I just spent 5 minutes in this onboarding flow answering 5 questions plus a face scan. Like I want to know what my results are. And I think they were tinkering with what if we make that 10 questions? What if we make that 12 questions? Like would our MRR go up if we take more people's time initially and then hit them with a hard paywall at the end. So in my head, I'm like, I don't know. I think I'm much more of a product and value builder than a marketer and monetizer.
Hmm.
Sadly, the tool builder in me doesn't make as much money as the kind of growth hacker and monetizer that these people are, rightfully so experts at and beating me in that category. But at the same time, I don't know. Just like I think I downloaded the app, went through the onboarding flow, then went to the App Store reviews after I didn't pay for it. And I think it was like 8 reviews so far, and it was like 3.4 stars. And one of the reviews was like, hey, I downloaded it, went through the flow, and it hit me with a paywall, so I uninstalled it. And it's like, you have to be okay with a large volume of that if you build apps like that. But in my head, I can't get over the hump of building an app to like prey on. I mean,
Hmm.
maybe it's a great app. Again, I never got through the paywall. Maybe it has amazing recommendations, but the first thought in my head is, like you were saying, it probably doesn't scan my face that well. Probably recommends the same things, and it kind of preys on like human behavior and spending all this time in this onboarding flow. And so, yeah, I don't know. I think it's becoming much more of a focus for these indie app builders. Like people want to take that formula and replicate it. So there's
Hmm.
one called Cal AI, which was, I think, calorie scanning. When you take a photo of food, it would analyze it and give you like the macros for it. And it also has the same exact onboarding flow. Like I think you go through like 10 questions. It's like, how much do you weigh? What are your goals? What do you usually eat? How much do you work out? like XYZ, and at the very end, hard paywall. If you decline it, an offer pops up saying here's 20% off, like go forward. And it's just all this like I don't know, like to be honest, the apps are pretty smooth, and I think they're built natively, like in Swift or Swift UI, which is great. But they are designed around this monetizable behavior and paywall and
Hmm.
onboarding flow, which is usually an afterthought for most traditional app builders. It's like I'm going to build the core product and then build the onboarding flow. Like for Split My Expenses, the onboarding is kind of weak, and it's because I didn't spend months and months there. And yeah, and so it's different. I want people to build like good products, but these guys are making tons of money, and that will only influence more people to kind of chase that.
Yeah. Well, and I think it goes to kind of what we talked about with, to promote and I unfollow. I think you and I think approach business in a way of like you must be doing something valuable, and like that's the way you get people to pay you. And I think there's a subset of businesses out there that like you will pay me for something that really isn't that valuable, like that you could easily just Google. Like when you're talking about the macro one, like I scan a piece of chicken and it tells me how much protein. Like you can just Google that. You know what I mean? Like I don't, and I'm sure there's some details that I'm missing, but like the value has to be there first, like first and foremost. And like even in, I'm not an engineer and don't build products, but like just as an accounting professional, like with services, like you are charging based on the quality and like the value of what you're doing, not like you're charging first and then you got to go provide the value some way after. Like it's kind of like a
Hmm.
reverse. But it's interesting too though, because I think we're in like this electronic world where like people don't have to pull their wallet out and give you cash. Like you just double click a button on your phone and you do the Apple Pay or whatever. So it's
Hmm.
easier than ever for people to be like flippant with their money and just go, oh yeah, let me just the paywall here. Whatever. Let me just do it. I already scanned my face. Might as well just do it and see how it is. I'll cancel it later or whatever.
Hmm.
And then do that. So I can understand like why those feel like low hanging fruit, but like it's not. It's probably not sustainable. It's,
Yeah.
in my opinion, kind of predatory a little bit, or like it might be a harsh word, but like you're just not adding that much value. And I think it kind of goes back to too. I think I mentioned this on the podcast before, where like at one point in time, I kind of thought it'd be funny and like even profitable to like basically scan Twitter for like political memes or political sayings and then like auto generate like merchandise with like those political sayings and like sell those
Oh
people.
yeah.
So like it's like if the president says something dumb or funny, like put that on a t-shirt and like sell it because there's so much like politically charged people out there. But then I was like, well,
Hmm.
am I really adding like am I doing any good doing that? Like and this is a bit more of like a moral thing, but like I didn't feel good even if I could build that, and I'm not saying I could have, but even if I could have built that, would I feel good about like sowing more division in an already really divisive topic? You know what I mean? I felt like that would be
Hmm.
something that I wouldn't really look back and be proud of, even if I made some money. I'd be like, I'm
Yeah.
going to kind of keep that off my resume. Maybe that I was like, it's like the those websites of like bum fights. Remember those back in like the early 2000s? It's like, are you really doing anything? Made a ton of money, but like, are you really doing anything good?
Yeah.
And on that note with the apps too, like I see all the time with like kids games, like my kids have iPads. I'm not like one of those like people that don't believe their kids should have like access to technology. They have limits and all that kind of stuff. But what I've noticed is a lot of games you're free to download, and then like they'll give you like one character, like just say like My Little Pony, just as an example. Like they'll give you one of the little pony characters, but then in order to get the rest of them, you got to pay like $20 a month or whatever. And like for a
Hmm.
kid, it's like, of course they want it. And I have to be like, no, like you're not getting that. But like they're all like that. And it's like nothing illegal, I'm sure. Like I'm sure they're operating within
Hmm.
the legal scope. But like, it's definitely is a little bit it's a little bit sneaky. Like it just kind of gives you a little bit of the ick a little
Hmm.
bit. You're like, okay. And there's
Yeah.
there's a yeah, a lot of that out there for sure.
I think when we were growing up, like the only purchases I had through parents was probably like Xbox Live. The account that we were logged in with had like an attached credit card. And I don't even think you could buy like, digital games. You had to buy the disc, so that didn't work. I think the only thing we could actually buy is like DLC maybe back in the Xbox days of like, we're playing Elder Scrolls Oblivion, a new DLC came out. It was downloadable content, so you could buy it through the Xbox store with an attached credit card. Now, I mean, I don't have kids, but now it's like, a hard paywall pops up and this kind of marketing tactics of press a button to continue, and maybe kids just like continue, boom, like Face ID or passcode or whatever, and maybe they know that to unlock the phone or iPad or whatever. Boom, they're like charged and charged. And I think we didn't have as much paywalls in our face. There wasn't the microtransactions. Everything was like more simple, 10, 15 years ago. Well, yeah, I don't think it's illegal, but it definitely pushes the limits of how they can eke out money where like people are saying, oh, like, my kid bought that, whatever. Like, I would tell them
Hmm.
no, maybe in real time, but if they buy it, like whatever. More so they go talk to people and do all that.
Yeah. Well, and I think microtransactions are interesting because I think that to me is and I'm not saying you're saying it's the same, but like I'm just kind of bringing it back to the paywall thing. Like I think microtransactions are super annoying, just coming from like our own background of just having the
Hmm.
disc and you pay for everything and then you get everything that was part of the game. Whereas now they shell out only part of the game and then they have to buy to get like all the other characters and all that kind of stuff. But like, games like Fortnite and like Fall Guys, like they're producing new like characters or new emotes or new dances or whatever. Like there is a value there, and then if people want to buy
Hmm.
it, that's up to them. But it's funny when you were talking about how easy it is to buy something on those games. My daughter one time was like playing Fall Guys, and I was in the other room, and fortunately she yells out, "Dad, I bought something," or whatever. And then I'm like, wait, what did you buy? And I go and look, and like sure enough, she had like bought like $70 worth of like Fall Guy like credits or whatever. Because she was just, I must have had like, just purchases allowed on my account, just charging my card. And like she could have like if she didn't yell out, like who knows how much money she would have spent. And
Yeah.
Xbox reversed it once I, told them what happened and it was all fine. But I was just like, geez, I need to be careful or add some kind of like passcode to like for purchases
Yeah.
now if they're going to be doing that
I think they
unsupervised.
are investing a lot more in like controls on payments, especially like kid accounts like in Apple and Xbox and all that. Talking about Fall Guys jogged my memory when I was in LAX. I recently went to Mexico to, before my flight. There was a gaming lounge in LAX in one of the terminals. And if you had Priority Pass, which my Amex card gives me, you're allowed to enter this gaming lounge. It gives you 1 hour of gaming, and a free snack and free drink. And my flight was probably in 15 minutes, like it was boarding. So me and my wife walk in, we get our like free drink and free snack, and the guy asks me, "Hey, do you want to play PC, Xbox, or PlayStation?" And I'm like looking at my watch, like I'm not gonna be able to play anything really. And so
Hmm.
I told him, "Oh, let's just do like I want to play Dragon Ball Z because we had talked about that over text. Like, hey, the new game came out, I want to try it." He's like, "Oh, I think it's only available on PlayStation, and that's the one I don't play." But I took it, and so I sat down, played like Dragon Ball Z. I wanted to play a quick match, but how Dragon Ball Z worked, at least in this new game, I wanted to play like me versus the computer. But I could choose like 5 characters on each side, and you had the life for each of the characters. So like if you beat like Frieza on the computer, it would swap out to a new character. So I'm sitting there looking at my time. I'm like, oh, I'm not going to finish this game. And then I switched to Fall Guys to play Fall Guys, and I win the first round. So I was like the first person to complete the checkpoint in the first round. And I left, and I told the guy, I was like, hey, like Fall Guys is there. And my wife was like, do you want to quit out of the game? I was like, no, like maybe don't play it. Like, I just
Hmm.
left it
Yeah.
hanging. But it was a fun experience. If you're in the LAX airport, go check out the gaming lounge if you have Priority Pass. I probably wouldn't pay for it if I didn't have the pass, but it was actually a pretty nice environment. Like for me as a
Mm.
gamer, if I did have an hour to spend there, they give you headphones, they give you a snack. I think you can even have a beer or two. Pretty cool. So I would
Yeah,
recommend.
that's cool. How was Dragon Ball Z? Was it fun?
It was good. I playing the game without going to the tutorial is quite hard. So I was like, how do I charge? How do I do all the abilities? And I finally figured out maybe 5 minutes in because the computer was just whooping me. I was like, okay, how do I block? How do I teleport? All these things. And then I think I became like the top Goku, like maybe the monkey one or whatever. And
Hmm.
then he had like the super grandfather Kamehameha, and I just like kept spamming that because I was trying to kill the computer as fast as I can so I could complete it.
Yeah.
And the amazing animations, good fighting.
Hmm.
I want to try it. Yeah, I want to try playing it with you. I think it'd be fun. Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't have enough time to like really eke out everything, so it's kind of like, oh, I need to get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, it's interesting the like the gaming world and how much money those companies make with just all the seasons and all that kind of stuff. It's just a whole different world from how it was probably 10 years
Yeah.
ago.
And transition to like the single game season pass every 6 or 12 months. And then back in our day, I feel like it was
Hmm.
Halo 2 was out, they had DLC like maps every, I don't know, maybe a year or so. Halo 3 DLC. But other than that, it was like just the core game was great. You don't have to pay any extra, and that's just how it was.
Interestingly enough, I feel like video games have like kind of held out with inflation. Like, because I remember video games being like 59.99 at Target, like always. Like you go to Target and like whatever you're getting,
Hmm.
fine. And like for the most part, I think like your blockbuster games are kind of still priced that. Like you can of course now they have like the $100 version where it's like has all the microtransactions already bought, but like still for the most part, like just the sticker price of like the base games is like for like your big title releases is like $60, I feel like. And that
I think it went up
surprisingly
to
hasn't
70, but
changed.
still,
Is it 70
still,
now? Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's 70 now. But still, I also felt the same. It's not that far off, given all
Hmm.
things considered. But the
Yeah, I
quality
mean,
of games went way down. So,
yes, true. Yeah. I have some favorites that are newer, I think, but in general, yeah, it's definitely gone down a little bit.
yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. I wonder where all that's kind of taking back to the paywall stuff. I wonder where that goes. Like if that's ever going to like get like a natural backlash, or if there's just always going to
Hmm.
be like get rich quick kind of people trying to do that kind of stuff, right? That's kind of what it sounds like. It's like this hacking thing, but yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to keep an eye on it and
Yeah.
see whatever comes of those. If they only last, we should like bookmark it and come back like a year later and see if they're still around. Just like
Yeah.
okay.
See what the App Store rating is. My guess is in the long term, Apple will be more intelligent about cracking down on the paywall behavior versus an app reviewer and a real user. Like, they'll probably index
Mhm.
more on a real user saying, "Hey, I can't even use the app without paying. Like, please, do something about it." But yeah, I guess we'll see.
It's funny. One quick thing on this before we move on. This wasn't really on our like a list of outline here, but I watched a video talking about gaming and all that kind of stuff and like paywalls and just transactions that completely just refreshed my memory of there's a really cool YouTube, I'll link it in the show notes, of it was like an indie game developer, and there's actually two videos I'm thinking of because I guess this is something that happens. People make a hit game and it goes viral and then they post a cool YouTube video about it with kind of talking about it. It was really well done, both of the examples I'm talking about. Basically, I'll just pick on one because it was kind of more of like a finished product. It was an indie game developer who made like a Roman battle kind of game, like where like you're a character and you battle like in Roman times, something like that. And, he like chronicled working on it for like over I think 2 or 3 years. All by himself, 100% by himself, and putting it up on Steam, and then like I think he did like an early access thing where it got some initial attention, and then um, when he by the time he launched, it was on enough people's wish list that like the launch went crazy, and I think he like
It's
it went made like $200,000 like in a 24-hour period or something like that, like something crazy, like it was absolutely nuts. And it's cool because it kind of goes the opposite way of like the trend that we were just talking about with all the microtransactions, where like now more than ever, like solo devs can like make really good games. And I think he was selling it for like 30, I'm gonna see if I can find it, $39 or something like that, or like maybe even like
pretty
20
high
bucks.
actually for an indie game.
Yeah, what was it called? Man, it's gonna
Like they're
bug
usually
me.
like $5 or $10.
Yeah, and then there was another one, the other one, same exact thing, so I won't go over all the details, but same exact thing, and it was like a farm-based like horror game.
Hmm.
And he just did the demo, but then like had so many people on the wish list, and he kind of like documented like how he built it and like what it's been like releasing an indie game and like all the conferences he went to and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's super cool. Again, like going the opposite direction of like the commodization and just inundation of microtransactions. Like the indie games have gotten like way more accessible and way better, and those are some of the better ones um that you can find out there.
Yeah,
So
it
yeah.
reminds me of like the marketing efforts of a single person. I talked about it in the pod a long time ago, but the TikToks or like the videos that I tried to make,
Hmm.
outlining kind of my journey as like a solo founder, split my expenses. Some people, like the Gen Z crowd, are really, really good at it. Like, they have the marketing hype and know how to make these like self-promoting videos that don't feel self-promoting. I'm
Hmm.
trying to do it. Clearly don't have the skill or expertise and it flops. But it's like if you
Hmm.
can find combo of being good at building products and being good at promoting yourself while not feeling like self-promotion. That's a really powerful combo. It's never been.
Yeah, yeah. Promoting, we've talked about it before. Having a great product is one thing, getting people to use it is a whole different
Yeah,
thing. And it's not as easy as just, this is great, come use it. There's a lot of like psychology, and
yeah, too much.
which is actually an excellent segue. And the other thing I wanted to kind of talk about with you is the idea of niching. And I don't know if niching's technically a word. I think it
It's
is. I'm not
defined
getting any
today.
spell checker. Yeah, niching. And the reason I bring it up is because that's a big topic in the accounting world right now. Is people, I think, are more and more feel more empowered than ever to like go out and start their own company. There's lots of good technology that make practice management way easier, and but there's a recognition that there's lots of players in the space, and like niching is a way to like narrow your scope of services and then be able to charge a higher price. Is the idea behind it, at least. And one book I'm listening to, it's an audio book. I do actually want to buy it and read it, but it's very, very popular. You've probably already heard of it. Is like 100 Million Offers by Alex Hormozy, I think.
I've not heard of it. Don't ask me
Oh,
if I've
okay.
heard of any books because the answer is probably no.
Well, I think he's kind of in the. I don't know that much about him. I think he's kind of in like the business world. Like
Okay.
he's a good marketer. He's a very good marketer. So I see him all the time before I read any of his books. Um, but it was actually, I'm like probably 5 chapters into it, so I haven't gotten through it as much as I would like to. But he talks about basically like niching down into like a very core customer base, because like what you're solving is going to be very unique to like their concerns or whatever. And I think the
Mm,
example he gave, I might butcher this a little bit because I'm just going off memory, but the example he gave is like companies might want to sell like a CRM platform, and it's like, okay, like that's a really competitive space, good luck. What if you want to sell a CRM platform for like, you know, inside sales or whatever, like some kind of further specification, that might be a little bit less of a crowded area, and you can probably charge
hmm
more because you can get more specific about their problems or what they run into. And then he kind of ends up going to like, what if you sold a CRM for like inside sales, like in the like turf care industry or whatever. And they got super specific, but then was kind of basically saying like that specificity allows you or enables you to like basically better market, first of all, like your product, but then like you are speaking directly to the problems and pain points that like a very core group of people have. And so that is like his whole hypothesis. So it's a really interesting perspective, and it's something that I think a lot of accounting firms are trending towards. But I was curious to hear from your perspective on niching, and I'm just curious if you've ever thought about doing it for like any of your businesses like that you've had, like I and Follow, or Split My Expenses, or even if it was something that you're just like, because you're very product driven, I think, and
hmm
like engineering driven. So if you're more like, I'm just looking for like a cool product and people are gonna find it and they might like it. That's like my ultimate like feedback loop. But I was just curious if you had any thoughts on niching, gosh,
Yeah.
as I
I,
describe
I
it.
think it reminds me of a conversation I had. I'm in the microconf community, and there was a talk months and months and months ago talking about how to market your product. And in this talk, I think it was Kareem, I can't remember his full name, but he was walking through how other indie businesses change their marketing copy on their homepage to attract the right customer profile. I think his kind of thesis or his hypothesis was figure out who uses your product, like do your own analysis, and then change the marketing content to attract that user that you want. And
Hmm.
I kind of interjected in his Zoom session saying, hey, for Split My Expenses from my product that I was building, I have two customer profiles. One is couples, the people who routinely split at, maybe 50-50 or some other ratio between their partner. The other is group travel. And to me, those are very, very different. They want different things. They pay different money. They have different use cases, even desktop versus mobile. So I asked him, I said, what do I do when I have two completely distinct customer profiles? And he had told me, like, probably choose one and just focus deeper on that. I think for me, there are bill splitting apps out there that are like purely for couples. I don't
Hmm.
see any that are like purely for travel because I think travel, it's like everything else plus travel and then couples. Like I think couples is the kind of odd one out. So if you're not building for couples, you're building for the other segment. And so I had taken his advice and thought, should I change my marketing? Like, should I go all in on couples? But to me, I like building tools that are generally useful, and I like building features that can apply to both sides. Although, when you want to be that perfect solution to that one thing, you'll see search queries that are bill splitting app for couples, bill splitting app for trips. And I can have different landing pages on my site that rank higher for those keywords and kind of outline the features for it. Or I could go all in and say, hey, SME Split My Expenses is the platform for bill splitting for couples. Like, screw trips. We're just going to do like very, very tailored features for it. I was kind of caught off guard because I didn't feel like I wanted to make a massive pivot and niche down to that. I love how my customer segments are almost like 50-50 across that. Because I get way more users getting these group participants where someone would join the platform, they'd invite their 10 friends on the group trip, and then
Hmm.
boom, I have 10 more users. If it's a couple, they join, they invite their partner, and that's it. Like, I get way more users to the platform with groups, but way less through couples. But I think couples spend more money because it's a recurring thing, where group travel is a one-off every quarter or 6 months or year. And so it put me in a hard spot where I wanted to niche down, but I felt like both were almost valuable in the grand scheme of things. And again, I'm no marketer, I'm no product strategist. I like building things and doing my best, and a lot of times building for my own niche. But when I thought about it, I was like, maybe the right decision is to niche down. I think for I follow, Insta Promote, all of those, you think about the follow for follow as the general category, and then niching is like choosing that platform and building the
Hmm.
best experience for that. And I think for SME, I don't have any plans to like convert it to be couples only or group only. Maybe it's the better long term move in terms of like monetization, but at the current moment, I'm just kind of like leaving things as is and moving forward. So it's probably the best advice to find the right niche, but you need to do a lot of research in terms of market size, how much people will pay. You know, look pretty deeply at your like product analytics, and all that stuff takes time and effort on top of like running your own indie business. So I was like, oh, I feel a little bit overwhelmed trying to think about that decision.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, especially in your experience having Iron Follow and Insta Promote, be successful, it's almost like in those kinds of products, you kind of want to go viral. Like you kind of want to, and like when you want
Mhm.
a big, wide swath of people, like generalizing is better, like, or like a general approach is
Mhm.
better. I think it just depends on like what your business goals are, and like, for a lot of accountants, they would rather have, a fewer number of higher paying customers because like ultimately accounting is much more of a, you're trading your time for money. And so, rather than have 30 clients that pay you, a lower average ticket price, it's better to have five that pay you, double
Mhm.
that ticket price if you can justify the value. And so I think that's where that comes into my arena. But, for software and like building products, it's much more like it's not as costly for you to service 1,000 customers versus just 10 customers as far as like your time goes. Like when you build a product, like there's no, hopefully it's a very like passive product where like, we've talked about how I and follow, but kind of just you set it and forget it basically. It just,
Yeah.
you'd get transactions. So it didn't even matter if there was, like you weren't trading your time for that money at that point. But I did wonder when I saw and I was talking about and like listening to that audiobook, like could you have had a higher price point if you were solving for a certain group of people, even if you accepted
Mhm.
that you would have fewer overall users. But it's marketing is, for someone, and I'm like you, like it's definitely not my cup of tea. You're an engineer, I'm an accountant. I think those two things don't typically, mesh with marketing. But it's funny when I was listening. I talked about this book on the podcast before, building a story brand, and kind of was talking about like advertisements and like copy and all that. And I did think of an amazing commercial for you. And I was like, dude, if I could like put this together for Split My Expenses, like this would sell billions and billions of dollars. It was basically this is a complete tangent, but we're here. So basically, it was like friends going out to dinner, and there's no like narration by you. It's just friends going out to dinner. So like just like a cool like Korean barbecue place, or like like a hot pot place or something, where like it's a group setting, and it's like a fun, getting drinks and all that kind of stuff. And then the waiter comes and brings the check, and then you have like a shot where like everyone's kind of looking around like awkwardly, kind of like what do we do, like, oh, I'll split it. That be like in contrast, then it switches over to like someone like happily smiling, like, oh, I got it, split my expenses later or whatever. And then like, it just takes care of it and everyone's like smiling and the vibe continues. Like, and the good vibes keep rolling. I was like, that'd be a great commercial for split my expenses. So,
Yeah.
if you're looking for yeah, we got ideas over here. But yeah, I was like, that would be good. I don't know why. I thought about that when I was walking my dog one day and I was like, it's a good commercial.
I think on my long-term roadmap, it's writing a lot more blog posts and getting the SEO engine humming. But I think,
Hmm.
yeah, there's a lot of unique opportunities to go viral. I think a lot of my successes in past products has been flipping that switch to get it to go viral, which there's no formula for, is what I found. And a lot of people are dying to get that one viral post. Like when I made those TikToks and the video content, the main goal was to have one do really well. I don't care if they all fall flat. If one takes off, like that was the goal. And yeah, none of them did, unfortunately. But I'm still holding on to the hope that someone, picks up SME, loves it, makes a video about it. They go viral. I don't have to do anything. That's the
Hmm.
goal. So I get comments probably once a month, like emails into my inbox. They're like, hey, I just picked up this tool, best thing ever. Like, I can't believe this is free. Keep up the good work. And for someone who builds products primarily for themselves and then creates the platform for others to use it, those comments feel great. I'm like, glad someone likes it. Not like I need people for validation. I love it, but it's like nice to hear that people go out of their way, like draft me an email that, is not that convenient and just say like, oh, this is amazing. And so, yeah, I'm hoping one of those people will go the extra mile. If you're an SME user and you're listening, I'm open to video feedback or some creator video of publishing it because I tried and it didn't work very well and I gave up. So if you're out there, would love some help and maybe we'll make it go viral together. Marketing is
Yeah.
way too hard.
Yeah, or you can even do one of those, like, I can just imagine in my head like the TikTok voice of like, yesterday me and my friends all went out to dinner and like picked up this hefty bill, but we split it. Talking about, I could hear it like in my head already. It's like you just got to get like a couple influencers to like shill that, and then maybe
Yeah,
maybe you
yeah,
can.
yeah. I think the effort to make those videos for someone who's not familiar with making videos was extremely high. Sitting there,
Hmm.
recording, editing, doing all that. And in the back of my head, I'm like, I could be building like 4 features and feel like direct impact. Or when I make these marketing videos and I post them to TikTok way back when, and they get no views, I sit there like, oh, I just wasted 5 hours of my time.
Yeah,
That's great. So like, I think it's like a realization that marketing is hard and I want like immediate feedback, but there are, things that I got, the results that I got were dismal. It's like, back to coach.
yeah. Well, what's crazy too is like our like the millennials, which is both you and I fall into. Millennials, we didn't like grow up with like the ability to like easily edit video like people do now. Like I remember like we had a
Mm-hmm.
camcorder and like you had to get that camcorder, take it out of like the camera, like hook it up to the PC and then like download the video and then you had to have like an expensive Adobe license. Like what was that one that
Mm-hmm.
we made videos? What was that video that you used to make? Oh, what was it?
We
Final
use
Cut Pro or something like that?
Sony Vegas Pro,
And
Sony
there was we made
Vegas.
like you made
Yeah,
like action videos, right? With like explosions and stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So
I think
like
it was
but
Final Cut on Mac and Sony
yeah,
Vegas on Windows.
but like so much harder and so much more work to make videos that were obviously less quality. But like
Mm-hmm.
now, like, and I'm not like, I have TikTok, but I'm not like on it, but people make like crazy videos, like super creative, like very cool, like they go viral. And it's like, I'm sure it took you 5 hours to do like that marketing video you're talking about, but like someone goes viral and it took them like probably 2 minutes to make because they're just like
Yeah.
fast at it, like, you know what I mean? And again, this is probably it's a point where I'm probably just personally like falling behind like the society of like making. I could not make a video right now if you asked me to on TikTok. Like I wouldn't know how to do all the cool like little cuts and all that kind of crap. But it seems like that's definitely becoming more and more of like where people are. If you're a business trying to find clients, you can always kind of meet them where they are, and it's definitely like video is the place.
Hmm.
But I just feel like I need a lot of I need like a boot camp in that, to be quite honest with
Me
you, because
too.
it's
Me
just a
too.
whole different world. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a guy who created a bill splitting app, and he was marketing himself through TikTok, doing a day in the life of a founder, which is exactly. And I wasn't going for that same video content, but I think he was Gen Z. He built like a bill splitting app, and the content he had made, the video content, went viral, and so maybe 4 or 5 people sent it to me saying, "Hey, have you seen this?" And in my head, I'm like, "Damn! Like, I don't know if his product is better or worse, but the fact that he has eyeballs in this attention market that we have, it's a
Hmm.
great sign. So in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, like I spend so much time building things back when I was like full time but I don't do that well in marketing. And when you see someone do well in marketing, it's like pure jealousy of like, I wish I had that guy on my team.
Yeah.
It's getting that attention is so important. Like even if the product sucks, they'll try it just because it went viral and people share with their friends. So that's kind of what had my success in instant promote. I need that moment for SME, but I just don't know when it's coming. It'll come soon enough.
My one of my favorite like what's the right word, like conundrums maybe, or like head scratching moments is I remember there was like a video on YouTube and it was like similar, like a day in the life of like a founder, but it was much more like it was very like you knew watching it that this is kind of BS. Like it was just like as I explained, it'll make more sense. But so basically, it was like a day in life of, but it was like $1 million founder. Like it was very clickbaity, very
Mm.
like just very like memey, I guess, if that's even a word. But like, so it shows like this guy who gets up at 4 a.m. right, and he's like in his young 20s, so
Cold shower, worked out by 5 a.m.
exactly, exactly. Like wearing like a face mask in the morning or something like that. Just like watched too much American Psycho and thinks that's him. And the Patrick Bateman meme and all that kind of stuff. And what was funny was like he did like, if you like looked him up or whatever, he did have a company, but the company like didn't do it. It was like some like BS like Shopify consulting company, right? Like, Amazon. One of my favorite, or one of my biggest pet peeves is like when people say like, "Oh, I've sold over $500 million of like product," or no, they've said like they've made $500 million. But then when you look at like if you like dig into a little bit, they've just like helped sell $500 million of product. They
Mm.
didn't actually make $500 million. Like, there's a big difference. If just being an accountant, that kind of stuff irks me because it's definitely like you know what you're doing. You're just trying to be sneaky, but anyways, where I'm going with this was the video itself was more of like the product than like the actual company. You know what I mean? Like it just became like a media company more than like actually a Shopify consulting thing. Like he got more
Mm.
famous from that and like more eyeballs from that because it was like a really good edited video. Like it was very well done. It had like all the, like professional editing, like the intro and like the very like aesthetics and all that kind of stuff. So, but probably got a ton of eyeballs on his company just from that silly day in the life video that was obviously, completely embellished. But yeah, it's where people are. So you got to kind of meet them where they are, I guess. But
Yeah.
it's a weird, unfamiliar world for me.
I think in 2025, I'll try to make more videos. I think you gotta spend less effort and just make more. I think I spent too much time on one video that I thought, in my head was, oh, this is gonna be it. And it doesn't. And you have this very sour taste in your mouth. And so I think I would try to spend more time making a higher volume of videos with like less quality. I know it sounds a little spammy. I think it's just the algorithm is so uncontrollable that one could go viral. Why? Okay. Just it is what it is. So probably the 2025 goals.
Yeah, yeah. Cool. Well, let's wrap this up here in a little bit, Brad. I guess any other things that you want to go over before we went over our bookmarks here?
Yeah, I think there's one thing that I've been seeing on my Twitter feed. Been a busy few weeks of traveling, both like to Mexico and to Santa Monica. But as I've been checking into Twitter infrequently, I feel like every day there's been a new post on my feed that people are migrating to Blue Sky. I don't know about you, but I follow Elon on Twitter, and I think his tweets have really invaded my feed. For example, I'll pull up the Twitter app on my iPhone, take a scroll, and my main objective for Twitter and the community that I've curated and my following or my followers, whatever side, is getting tech news, which is AI, PHP, and JavaScript. Those are kind of the three bubbles that I look for and find useful facts or stories or tips. And as I've been opening the feed, I've been getting, one out of every 10 people that I follow is migrating to Blue Sky, which is the other
Hmm.
social media Twitter clone, kind of, so to speak. And then the other thing is just like tons and tons of politics and Elon tweets, which when I followed him initially, I thought, he's doing interesting stuff. He has a very, interesting take on a lot of things, which I don't want to get into, but, it's a little
Hmm.
bit unique and novel. And then I think with the election, with the politics, all that, it's become a lot. Like he's very much shifted from technology and engineering and like interesting stuff to more politics, which I don't go on
Hmm.
Twitter to see. If I want to see that, I'll go look for it elsewhere. And so I recently muted him, and a lot of my followers are going to Blue Sky, which, it kind of hurts a little bit because I spend all this time curating the community that I'm looking to hear from. And when people leave, and some people actually delete their Twitter posts as they move, it sucks because I want the feed that I've always had. It's becoming more politics and less people that I follow. So I'm kind of in this
Hmm.
in between point where I want to make a Blue Sky account just to follow the people that I care about, but I don't want to use two apps. And so for me as a lazy person, like I just want an all-in-one or I want my people back. Sometimes you don't know what you're missing out until you get there. Historically, I think a year or two ago, a bunch of Apple people that I used to follow in terms of like the iOS category, they all went to Blue Sky. And I thought that was a significant moment. Now it's coming back up. I think people are tweeting like the blue butterfly emoji because I think Twitter will like try to remove posts that directly mention it. But a few Laravel people are starting to migrate to Blue Sky that I follow, and I'm just like, dang, like why can't we just stay here? I don't love Twitter, I don't love X. I haven't posted much for like recently, but at the end of the day, I'm more of a consumer than a poster. And having these like important people that I follow migrate off because of the whole landscape of Twitter, it kind of sucks. I don't know if you've seen that too.
I've seen a little bit of it. Yeah, I think it's more of a tech thing. Like my following is a lot of like accounting. I do have some tech, um, but not as much as you, of course. And then like real estate, like real estate
Mhm.
Twitter. And there's some of that, but it reminds me a lot of Mastodon, which was around like a couple of years ago. People were moving over to Mastodon and like had their own Mastodon server and
Mhm.
all that jazz. Yeah, so and then that didn't really stick around. I think at least with the people that I was following. So yeah, I don't know. Like it's definitely if Twitter goes, I won't miss it too much to be quite honest. I have it for the I have it for the news and like updates here and there, but like it's not something that like I engage with that much.
Mhm.
And but yeah, on the for you like tab, it's all like Elon stuff. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
yeah, the for you tab I don't ever go on to begin with, like unless it like just auto defaults there on my page. Like sometimes
Mhm.
I'll open my app and like I'll see stuff. I'm like, I don't follow these people, and then I'm like, oh, I'm on the wrong tab. And so I go over to like the following tab. So then it gets a little cleaner. But yeah, it's all politics. It's all outrage bait and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
internet's a weird
I think
place
that
right now. Yeah.
Yeah, there's two things that I want to do to probably clean it up before I would ever leave. One is I think there's a Chrome plugin that removes all the junk that isn't like the core tweets where, I describe creating my community. That's me choosing people to follow, getting like tweets directly from them. And so the For You tab violates that because they're sourcing tweets from the algorithm. But I found sometimes they pop up with good stuff. However, they've changed things recently and it just doesn't feel right. So I'd probably go back to the following tab and then install this plugin, which kind of just removes all the distractions. Then two, which I've seen a lot, is adding mute words on Twitter on X, where you
Hmm.
can put politics or put whatever, and any tweets I think that content will not be showing your feed. However, I just don't want to spend all this time putting in 500 mute words, and if I miss something because I have a mute word, I'll never know. So part of me is like, I want to keep the door open, but then I get this negative reaction when I see just this slew of like politics tweets where I want to see PHP, Laravel, AI, JavaScript, TypeScript, whatever.
Hmm.
That's all I care about. That's why I'm here. That's why I follow these people, but I just don't see it now. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe on the next pod, I'll create a blue sky report back. But at the end of the day, I think people are kind of frustrated with the for you content. And then two, you can't post direct links in your tweets on Twitter. They will penalize you and not push your posts out as much if you do that. So you'll see posts that say, I just launched this new product. Here is what it is. And then in the next tweet, it'll be like link in comments. In the next tweet, they'll post the direct link. Stupid. And I think that's why people have kind of migrated to other platforms where they're like, oh my God, I can post a link in my tweet in Blue Sky and I don't get penalized. Like there's no, it's so stupid to not be able to post the links that you care about because it takes you off the platform. So things like that is obvious. Yes, that should be allowed, but it's not on Twitter. All these other platforms are like quote unquote winning on that front for that behavior. So I'll have to see. If more people go, I'll definitely follow, but I'll probably keep my Twitter account around because it's something that I still get lots and lots of value out of because of the people that I follow.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm definitely more of a consumer too. It's definitely
Hmm.
and I'm always impressed that people grow their business there. that seems like a very hard thing to do, but people, people figure it
Well,
out.
speaking of being a consumer, what's the latest update on the LinkedIn business
Mm.
for you? How are things looking for you?
Yeah, so full transparency, I haven't been able to post. It's like actually something I want to kind of get caught up on here. Just been super busy with work and like kid stuff, so like probably the last week I haven't posted. I think, but I was before that I was posting like every day. I think for the most part, and like my process has been, for the most part, like I'm reading a book or like doing like a deep research. It sounds kind of like growth hacking or whatever, but like, doing like some really deep reading on like a certain topic or whatever, and then kind of just generating some thoughts on the matter for the most part. So I think I talked about this last time or maybe two times ago, where I read a book about franchising as a business strategy, and then just, what's important for franchising, like when it comes from like an accounting perspective. So like that's generally been my kind of content mill, or so it's that, or it's been like kind of just accounting stuff. So I think the first one is like speaking to like business owners and small businesses, just to kind of like give some, free, on LinkedIn, just some free kind of advice that they could, might read and might find valuable. This is the hope. But then the second one is just because I have a lot more fellow accounting professionals on my connections than I do like small business owners, just by, nature of my work experience and everything, is more geared towards, accounting isms. So like the one that did the most, which was like completely surprising, was I post about balance sheet reconciliations. And so for the non-accountants that are listening, like a balance sheet reconciliation is basically a process that accountants go through where they look at your like dollar balance of accounts like for your business. So like just the easiest one to kind of think of is cash. And so like you're saying that you have $1,000 of cash in your account, on your financial system. Like, does that match your bank? If not, like what's different? Do you have checks in transit, or do you have deposits that need to be posted? So like you kind of research that. And cash is a really simple one because it's really black and white, but there's, lots of different accounts that you have in your business, and some of those accounts are much more complicated than just cash. Like you have to kind of do a lot of digging and research. And so that post where I basically was like, hey, an underappreciated task is like balance sheet reconciliations, because if you don't do them well, then you really don't know, like you really can't rely on your numbers. It's basically like it really validates your numbers. I think is the best way to think of it for non-accountants.
Mhm.
And that post, let me pull up my stats here. That post like took off, like went viral from my perspective at least, and ended up doing I'm looking at it now, 365,862 impressions over the last 365 days. Yeah, and then ended up getting 1,182 likes or loves, or insightful, like whatever the
Actions.
little reactions. Yeah, 104 comments, and this is the one that kind of shocked me the most, to be honest, was got 117 reposts. So like so it must
Wow.
have really resonated with people. Yeah,
That's probably how
and
you got
people
all
that
the
I
impressions is people sharing it.
yeah, and it's people largely that I don't think I'm connected with that ended up reposting it, at least for the most part. So it
You know
was
what you
really
should
cool.
do, just
Yeah.
thoughts is you should comment on that post and just drop the podcast link because maybe, I'm not sure how LinkedIn works, although I work there. If people have liked it and they've shared it, I think if the author comments, maybe everyone will get a notif that is, maybe that was 1,000
Mm.
people across likes and comments. Then they could come to the pod. If they've interacted with it, they might be interested. And if Ben does it and you're here listening to this episode, I guess it worked. So thanks for listening. Yeah, maybe worth because what I see on these platforms is when you go viral, there's always like, here's my Venmo, here's my XYZ, like to kind of plug their socials. And so since you wrote such a banger of a post, maybe it's time to capitalize on it and, bring
Hmm.
people to the pod because we love to have you.
Yeah, I'll drop my Venmo link. You guys can pay me for that. Just kidding. Yeah. That's the funny thing is like I don't see like all that insight. Like I don't have that. I'm kind of just
Mhm.
throwing mud at the wall and seeing what sticks.
It's
And
working.
yeah, that one did really well. And it's funny. I've texted you this, just in our own conversations, but like things that I thought would go like way more, like
Mhm.
don't end up doing it. And then, these ones tend to do like more well. Like the example I was telling you was like, I always think that video is going to do really well,
Mhm.
like on LinkedIn, on like the LinkedIn algorithm. And, for whatever reason, it just doesn't like, it doesn't hit, but like the text ones, and I'm just basing this off impressions. And so I think the argument can be made like, well, how valuable are just impressions? Like, should you'd be looking at a different kind of metric. Well, they put that aside. Like, if I just look at impressions, the video ones don't do nearly as well as just like the text ones. So I don't know what the rationale or like what the reason is for that, but yeah, I'll try that. I'll have to kind of pick your brain on exactly what you were like talking about, because I don't know all the little
Yeah,
ins and
I can
outs. But
share. I mean,
yeah.
I think at the end of the day, like getting those eyeballs is super important. It also
Hmm.
reminds me of advertising where they'll see your name and they'll see your profile picture. And as long as, you don't change your profile picture, the next post that you do that does well, they'll be like, oh, I've heard of this guy before. Can't remember
Yeah.
where, or maybe it was, don't remember that post. And then now you kind of just have the authority in that domain over time. And again, yeah, not everyone will go viral. And maybe that's, the best one you'll have this year. Hopefully not. But next time you post a good one, and it goes viral, people are like, oh, I've heard of that guy. Boom, boom, you built up the ramp. Now it's just easier because you have the background and track record of doing well on the platform. So
Well, and
that's
it's
cool.
annoying too, because I told you this. I've tried to get my like website on LinkedIn, where it's like there's a
Mm,
button where you say like visit my website, and like I'm not selling anything. Like, it's just like a personal website where like people can like contact me and like see my work experience and all that kind of stuff. But like for whatever reason, LinkedIn, like, they're like, no, it's only for certain accounts. But then I look at every other account and they all have that. And I'm like, don't give me that BS. So it's a shame that I end up getting hundreds of thousands of impressions, and I don't look at my website links or like stats very much. Like, it'd be great. I think I would have gotten more just purely
mm.
like just by basic common sense. I would have gotten more like visits to my site if there was a nice big button that said like visit my website on my
We
profile.
gotta fix that for you for sure.
I know. Yeah, you gotta talk to your
I'll
folks
talk
over
to
there,
some
because
people. Yeah, that's not right. You gotta capture like all that effort you spent and all the that's like untapped market. Like again, that comment that you're gonna put down there gonna be great. Like having that view my website button, it's the funnel to like get you more credit where credit is due. I feel like you're not there yet. That's this maybe the second step of the puzzle.
yeah, because I was looking at this. I had like 1,000, almost 1,100 people view the profile, and like obviously that's not all due to that post, but like that's
Hmm.
definitely a lot from that post, I'm sure,
That is a lot.
or others from some similar posts. So because my next best one was like 35,000 impressions, so like this was a very
Still a lot.
clear like outlier. Yeah,
Yeah.
and even that 35,000 was like still kind of an outlier. I think it tends to be around 3 to 4,000, I think, on my like the text
Yeah.
based
I think most
ones.
of mine are like 3 to 5,000, which
Hmm.
yeah, maybe
Yeah,
I just don't write engaging content, but I also don't post as much as I
yeah. It's definitely the one thing I'll say on this before we move on is when I've been posting, I kind of like just do it like that day. Like, I'm not one not yet. I want to get there, but I'm not one to sit down and like, okay, this is what's going out Monday, this is what's going out Tuesday. Like, I have a
like.
general like schedule, but like I kind of come up with it on the fly. So like, here on, Sunday, I want to kind of think about what I'm going to write for the week. And then I'll be like, okay, I'm going to post on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But like, I kind of go into that day like with like an idea, but like not like a full post. And I'll just kind of write it, and I don't. I'd be much better to kind of like set it and forget it. And I've done that here and there, but I just need to get better and more consistent at like making that a process, because sometimes it's like on the fly, which I think is good, because I think the content is a bit more like, like I'm not using chat to like write anything. I'll
Mhm.
use it for like an edit, like just a quick grammar check, but like not any like actual content. But I do want to kind of balance it a bit more, where like it's much more like on a schedule that's consistent, because I think that does kind of help the algorithm a bit too. So I don't know. We'll see.
Last question for the kind of LinkedIn stuff. Do you
Hmm.
think the success that you have for that one post pushes you to write more? Because I've heard lots of advice of like keep posting no matter what your metrics are. I think that tailors more to the folks who don't have these viral, kind of posts.
Hmm.
Since
Yeah.
you had one that did well, do you think you're like, oh, I'm way more bought in, or do you think that doesn't change your strategy? Because when I was posting on TikTok and I just got defeat after defeat after defeat, I kind of
Yeah.
stepped away and said, maybe this isn't for me. And I feel like you got to success rather quickly, which is awesome and means
Hmm.
you have a talent and a skill there. Did that propel you to write more or didn't change anything?
I definitely was a more positive like pat on the back than like not
Hmm.
getting it, for sure. I think in because I was talking about this with my wife because she's like, "Oh, that's amazing! Like that's super cool that you have that many people." So I remember I was watching it and it was like 100,000. I was like, "Oh, that's really cool." And then like I'd come back like later in that day, I was like 150,000, and like
Yeah.
someone like two or three reposts, and then all of a sudden it's like 200,000. So it kept going up, and I remember being like, "Oh, that's pretty cool," but I was not like like, "Oh, I got to do this again and again and again," because
Mhm.
especially I think that content was again very geared towards like other accounting professionals, and like I love my fellow accounting professionals. Don't get me wrong, but like, that's not like a customer. It's not like it's not like a client. Like if I'm thinking about like, my LinkedIn as like an area, like just to engage with like small businesses or just business owners in general, that wasn't the audience for that post. So
Mhm.
that's kind of where, I was kind of saying like I have kind of two kind of categories of posts. And I think where I would be more like excited, and again, I don't want this is gonna make it sound like I'm not excited about that post going as viral as it did. I was really excited for sure, and it was cool to see so many fellow accountants be like, "Yeah, this is a really important thing." Like I loved that kind of like, "Oh yeah, we are all on the same page here." But I think where like I would have been like more excited is like if people were like, and if like small business owners were like DMing me, being like, "Oh, this is awesome!" Like like kind of being a bit more like than just like liking something or just like seeing it on their feed, like a bit more direct engagement. I did have lots of DMs. A lot of it was spam, which we'll talk about on my bookmark section. But that came out of that post. But yeah, it was definitely cool. I'm gonna keep posting, I think, and I'll keep doing the mix of like probably accounting type things, and then also kind of more like entrepreneurship and small business type things. And but for me, I like kind of trying to post about things that like are useful and add value to like business owners. Like that's my like happier place. So like, it's great to have the success with that. But I think for me, it wasn't like a grand slam, like euphoria. It was like, this is cool. Let's
Mhm.
keep going and, just see where it leads kind of thing.
Cool, cool. Sounds good. All right, well, let's wrap this up with bookmarks. So, mine on X is talking about the Huberman blue light glasses. So, if you're a Huberman follower, he talks probably too much and tells you how to live your life. And he recently came out with blue light glasses. And as for someone who stares at the computer screen all day, I follow Nick Dobos, who I think was an iOS engineer at Twitter, and he did a review on a Huberman blue light blocking glasses, and his TLDR is they are quote unquote legit. And he said since wearing them, he dreams dramatically more. Not sure if that's a success metric or not, but I'm always in the market for things that are going to improve my quality of life. And I've never done blue light glasses, even though I'm like staring at screens all day. So who knows? Maybe I'm gonna try. If you're a listener and you have them, please let us know if you like them because I can't really tell. Every time I see things on social media that are promoting a product in the back of my head, I'm like, is this guy getting paid? Or like,
Yeah.
did he really reach out to this guy because he has followers?
Mhm.
It's interesting. If there's a Black Friday deal, maybe I'll try some. But anything for the health, I'm always like, maybe that's worth it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. People will spend money on what I can't remember the exact. There's like three things. It's like health, wealth, like So if you can helping them get healthier, they'll happily spend money on that. If you're helping them, make more money, that's people generally will spend for that. If it's like, hey, I can turn your business around and help you make $100,000. You just got to pay me five
Mm-hmm.
thousand. People be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take that deal all day. And I think the other one was like relationships. I think was the third one. And so, anyways, point being is that like, yeah, I'm with you. I think health stuff is easier to spend on than like a new computer gadget or gizmo.
Yeah.
Um, I have had blue light glasses before, like just kind of like a generic Amazon brand one, because for a while I was getting really bad tension headaches. I still get them occasionally, and I thought that that was a culprit. I found myself wearing them like inconsistently to really be able to get like a good sense of it was helping. But I think, and the reason I kind of stopped using this is years ago. But I felt like I found the real culprit, and it was definitely like these kinds of headphones that I'm wearing right now.
Interesting.
Yeah, like if I am on Zoom all day and I got these headphones on, by the end of the day, like my neck and like I don't know if it's because I lean forward or what. I don't know what the issue is, but like my neck and like top of my head are just like so irritated. I got to take some Advil. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think look, I know the Huberman hype and all the like the you know again all the little things that they're looking to sell you, but it's always like for me if there's good studies behind it, because I'm guessing it's mostly targeting sleep, because I think that's when blue light
Mm-hmm.
glasses are supposed to kind of really help. And sleep is super important, like for sure. So like if you have a problem with sleep and you feel like you're not getting enough or not getting enough quality of sleep, then it's definitely worth a shot to at least try it, because that's not something you want to kind of skimp out on, I think.
Yeah, you can use Ben's coupon code Ben20 off on the Huberman wine glasses and
Yeah,
hook yourself up there.
Ben 10% off. There you go.
There you go.
Try it. Let me know if it works. Yeah. Cool. I have two bookmarks. I'll do the LinkedIn junk one first, because I kind of alluded to it in like the spam when we were just talking about the post. So one thing I didn't realize until posting on LinkedIn was just how much like just pure complete spam there is on the platform. And I think every platform has this problem, so I'm not picking on LinkedIn. But wow, when you start putting yourself out there and like you're just not like a generic account, the amount of DMs that you get are just like astounding. And it's obviously very automated, like the vast majority of them. And also too, there's a lot of people that are like just looking for work. And it's almost like, I feel like Upwork, that platform where you can like bid on jobs and stuff like that. Like it's almost like I post this stuff and then like literally thousands, okay, maybe hundreds of people like are in my DMs being like looking for work or like asking if I need any help with like my business, which I'm not promoting a business. So like it kind of, I'm like, where are you getting that from? Are you just like completely cold emailing me? So it's a lot for sure. And then, so my bookmark was a post by, and I'm not familiar with this person at all. It was like on my feed through someone else liking it. And the professional's name is Priscilla McKinney. Again, I have no idea who she is or what she's about, but she has a period in front of her name. And she posts, this is like a recent post as of, today, 11/24. She has a post about people ask me all the time why I have a period in front of my name on LinkedIn. And she posts a screenshot, and basically it's all these DMs saying hi, and then it has dot Priscilla. So it's like, so basically like it's taking the like template of like hi first name, and then it's like some prompt. And so because she has a period in her name, she can easily see what's just a automated prompt based outreach versus like a true like human reaching out to you.
That's pretty
So
smart.
yeah, I thought it was pretty smart and pretty funny. And just cold outreach to me in this day and age is just seems like has to be such a low ROI, but people are still doing it. And like I said, I'm getting spammed for my business that I don't have one. I'm not promoting anything on LinkedIn or any kind of business, but yet I'm getting all these weird offers for accounting and bookkeeping,
Like
outsource
shooting their shot.
accounting out of the country. Yeah, like it's a lot. So I thought that was pretty funny. So that was my first bookmark. And then the other one, this is actually one I thought was really like, this is not a silly bookmark. It's from Matt Wilkinson, who I think is a website builder in I think he's in New Zealand or something. But it's specifically for accountants, and he just has some things about like your website needs to be simpler, like just add some real photos, have less text, have less menus, simple calls to action. And I thought it was a good post just to remind people that like I think back in the day, I had this thought or this philosophy that like you needed to have like certain pages on your website. Like you needed to have an about me, and then you needed to have like our services. And in that services, you needed to have like 3 or 4 different things with like stock images of skyscrapers. And like, I think that's kind of old school. And, he's much more like focused on hosting or focused on like social proof, make sure that your hosting is good. So you have a faster website. So I thought it was just a good post and a nice reminder to like simplify, focus on social proof, have less busyness. People just can easily see what you're about and like what you provide. And it's actually very similar to that Growing a Story Brand marketing book that I've been reading. So it's very along the same vein. And so bookmarked it and thought it was a good post kind of for my own just personal website, to update
Yeah,
when
things
I have
change
some
over
time.
time. When I was looking at Instagram just for the last pod, there's a way back when machine, kind of the Internet Archive, and I can see the original homepage of Instant Promote and Follow, and I use this kind of bot HTML theme. I thought it looked really good, and obviously, when you look at things that are 10 plus years old, it looks terrible. And so, talking about like simplifying your website, understanding the kind of core values and pages that should exist, whatever you look at today might be very relevant and like be the trends. And who knows, in a year or two, it could be vastly different.
Yeah. Sorry for
If you go
folks
over,
that are. Yeah, I'm getting some. My window's open. I'm getting some audio noise, but that's a great segue because I think it's time to wrap this sucker up. So I'll take that as my
Yep.
cue to exit. But yeah, good stuff as always, Brad. And yeah, we'll wrap this one up. Enjoy your
Sounds good.
Thanksgiving, and yeah, I will talk to you later.
See you next time.
Hey, hope you liked that episode of the Break Even Brothers podcast. To find more of our episodes, you can go to breakevenbrothers.com or find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Transistor FM. To connect with Brad, you can go to bradleybernard.com or at bradleybernard on X. And to connect with me, you can go to bennettbernard.com or at the Real Tech CPA on X. You can also find us both on LinkedIn. Thanks. See you next time.